Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for joining Sushi Tech Tokyo 2026 today. Now, we will have the session on the role of Tokyo as a global hub in accelerating startup growth, the next moves in AI utilization, open innovation, and attracting global venture capital. So please welcome speakers. Mizuho Financial Group, Tatsuto Fujii. $500 Global, Tsai. Sampo Holdings, Masayuki Kimura. And Alumni Ventures, Jiang. Now the floor is yours, please.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us, especially after lunch. I know this is usually the toughest slot because after lunch, everyone wants to have nap or hirune time. So thanks for the attention here. We'll try to make this very engaging, and that's why I'm wearing yellow. Apparently, this color keeps you stay awake. So today's topic is about the role of Tokyo as a global hub. It's a really fun topic because Tokyo is such a unique city where this extreme complexity coexists and result in a system that feels incredibly simple and smooth. We have 30 million metropolitan population, but trains are always on time, streets are clean, and the traffic in Shibuya is chaotic, but nobody bumped into each other, and nobody's honking. So this is such a unique place, and that shows up not only in daily life, but also how business and innovation happens here. Today's topic is about evolving startup ecosystem and how this uniqueness can translate into global impact. We have a fantastic group of panelists here, and I'll let everyone introduce themselves. Please start with Masa.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me today. And let me introduce myself a little bit. I'm wearing two hats. And first, I'm a CDO of Sampo Holdings. In that role, I'm leading the AI initiatives in Sampo Global. And the second is CEO of a startup named Venture Client. In that role, I'm spreading the idea of a new innovation model named Venture Client. Yeah. Thank you for having me today.
Great. And then Christine.
Hi, everyone. It's great to be here. I'm Christine Tsai. I'm CEO and founding partner of 500 Global. I'm here from the Bay Area, from San Francisco. 500 Global is a venture capital firm that invests globally from early stage all the way to late stage. So we invest across stages and across countries. So since the very beginning, and this is actually our 16th year, we have been investing in Silicon Valley, where our headquarters is, all the way to markets like Japan, Korea, Taiwan, Middle East, Latin America, Southeast Asia, Sub-Saharan Africa, and more. So our portfolio spans more than 80 countries around the world. We've invested in more than 3,000 companies to date. And a couple of the, some of the newer investments, there's definitely been a lot of exciting activity around AI. We are also early investors in Sakana, which is a big AI company here in Japan. So great to be here.
Wonderful. And Tatsu, please.
Hello, my name is Tatsuto Fujii from Mizuho Financial Group. I'm really honored to be here. And thank you for inviting for this panel. I am head of AI transformation department, and also I'm a chief AI officer at the Mizuho Financial Group. So my division has responsibilities for driving an AI journey as a whole, as a Mizuho Financial Group. And we also have some kind of like a great partnership with AI startup companies in Japan. So I'd be happy to talk about our experience, and also I also want to know really more about how the Tokyo is driving toward AI innovation as a whole. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'll be facilitating today's discussion. My name is Jiang. I'm an investor at Alumni Ventures, which is $1.5 billion fund based in Japan. We recently launched a fund in Japan. I was born and raised in Japan. I moved to Silicon Valley roughly 9 years ago and then moved to New York recently. And we all have different perspectives, so let's enjoy the discussion. So the first section that we want to talk about is Tokyo's position today. So let's start with the definition of a global hub. What do you mean by being a global hub, and how close is Tokyo to that definition? Anyone wants to start?
Okay.
Go ahead.
So the definition is really tough to define, and but in my understanding, in true global hub, global transaction, including the business transaction and the fundraising, happened so often. As a result, startups became a unicorn. So the number of unicorn and the fundraising amount and the number of big transaction would be the indicator of the global startup ecosystem.
Great, that's a really fair point. Anyone else wants to jump in?
So I think in terms of global hub, and for 500, this has been a very critical part of what we do as early stage investors. We've seen that in many markets around the world, there's a few pieces of what we feel it takes to be a thriving startup ecosystem that are often missing. And it does take a number of years and investment and a long-term view for that to happen. But in terms of kind of what are the really key ingredients? Definitely, if I can sum it up, because I think, as you said, it's not an easy question. There really has to be the talent from the founders that build the companies. The capital needs to be there. So everything from the early, seed stage capital all the way to the institutional Series A growth stage, and then a healthy exit environment,
Right.
which in many markets something may be missing or it's not quite there. And then also the customer base. So can someone really grow their business to something very significant with the market in that, or with the customers in that, in a particular market or not? And that there's foreign capital coming in, or talent founders coming in, and that it really feels like it can attract that. So I think in varying levels,
Yep.
you can judge any
That's
market.
well
by that.
said. How about you, Tatsu?
Yes. So as Christian said, so in addition to that, to become a true global hub for the Tokyo is that, from my perspective, so we have a dedicated team in San Francisco and New York using a lot of cost for every year, because we want the fresh information and fresh some kind of networking and some others. So the gathering the latest information around what is happening in the technology area and what is the latest trend is also happening, and also some kind of like networking. I think the people network is also one of the important topics
Right.
to become a global innovation hub. So information and people network is another kind of topic that Tokyo needs to tackle on.
Got it. So we got some definitions, and then Tatsu already shared some views on where Tokyo is, but do you have any opinions on how close Tokyo is to that definition?
Yeah. So the how close is Tokyo is also really difficult. But Tokyo is approaching to true global startup hub. That's my opinion. In my previous job, I launched a startup supporting company, and the company expanded to 300 members. Anyway, so that at that time, in this kind of industry top conference, there are not so many stakeholders, only founders and startups. are joining, and no other stakeholders, BC and financial institutions, there are few. So the situation is, has been totally changed. So nowadays, as you can see in this venue, there are a lot of stakeholders and global, international ecosystem players joined. And also, by the number, the investment amount to our Tokyo startup ecosystem became 10 times larger than before in our last 15 years. So I'm thinking that Tokyo is approaching to our true global startup hub.
That's a good point. This conversation is really inspiring. That kind of hit me thinking that being a global hub doesn't have to be becoming the next Silicon Valley, because it's extremely hard to compete against Silicon Valley in terms of the capital, the amount of capital and velocity, especially given today's AI craziness. But after hearing this, I feel like Japan has its own strength. So we have to have this distinctive set of strengths that can build our own startup ecosystem. And it doesn't have to be Silicon Valley. Japan has global, world-class manufacturing capabilities in precision engineering, and we also have globally competitive IPs and content, as well as cultural foundations in hospitality, service quality, infrastructure. And another unique thing is that we are facing this challenging societal issues like labor shortage, aging society, which can be a driver for innovation and globally relevant solutions. So I think that could be something that we should leverage as a global hub to build our own global startup hub. It doesn't have to be Silicon Valley. That's what I kind of hit me after hearing these conversations. But let's move on to the second questions. Masa mentioned that there been a change, the kind of attendees in this conference. But what are the other recent changes that you notice in this startup ecosystem in Tokyo? What's the kind of evolutions that you observed recently?
For me? Sorry about that. So yeah, I'm in the financial service industry, and I am for the past more than 10 years I was related to the fintech ecosystem in Tokyo, in Japan also. And for last 10 years, we are seeing massive progress around inviting global international startup companies to Tokyo. So such as we have a fintech hub in Otemachi called Finorabo, which I am really, we have a lot of friends in the hub. And also we have Fingate in Kayabacho, which is another large fintech hub. So the people and network is coming to Tokyo. But at the same time, I also feel that we need more something like the place to do physical POCs under no obligation, right? So we need more learning cycle, a very quick learning cycle. So to run more POCs or running cycle, we need more collaborations between large corporations and the regulatory bodies and the startup companies. So I'm not sure how to proceed this momentum, but the atmosphere is becoming better and better year by year.
That's very encouraging. Add-on?
I totally agree with Tatsu's point. So there nowadays, more and more large corporations are actively involved in their open innovation activities. So there in Japan, 20 or 30 CVC are launched per year. That's an incredible number. Probably the global number one, or I'm not sure, but nowadays large corporations are actively involved in the open innovation activity. That's strength of our Tokyo ecosystem.
That's very encouraging. Okay, move on to the second question. If you had to convince a founder, global founder, to start in Tokyo, what would you say? How do you convince global founders to start a company in Tokyo?
So again, the density of cooperation is a strength of Tokyo startup ecosystem. If you can go enter Tokyo startup ecosystem, you can meet Toyota, Sony, Honda, and MAJ, other large players just in an hour in person. So that this kind of density is
That's very
attractive.
unique in Tokyo.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really open to talk with people from startup companies. So, in average, around 2 to 3 companies for per week. I'm talking with startup companies. Not only Japanese companies, but also the company came from United States or Europe or some other areas. So. Like our team, very open to talk with external companies such as startup companies is becoming, trend for large enterprises in Japan. So please come to Japan and let's talk.
There's a strong momentum.
So we were talking about this backstage, and I think that my thought is maybe it's a little bit more. So I think for global founders, like you said, if there is something that's there are some great qualities that Japan has in terms of developing into a very a compelling startup ecosystem, and clearly Japan is third world largest economy by GDP. It already is in many ways quite global, but then at the same time for a startup founder, I think that there are definitely areas that are a bit tougher for founders who might be more accustomed to working in environments like it could be Silicon Valley, but it could be Singapore, Europe. So I think that it is probably actually tough to convince unless there is something that Japan offers that is very unique for their business. So if it's just a very blanket, just go build your company in Japan and the founder is not used to doing business here or speaking Japanese, of course it's more challenging. But that said, I think in terms of what are the great qualities that the market has, I think as panelists have said, very rich density in terms of corporate activity. There's clearly a lot of more focus on innovation. And there are probably certain areas, certain sectors that Japan is well positioned to do well in, like healthcare, like physical AI actually is a big one.
100%.
But just more of like calling out that it's something to work towards, that you can have a global founder and they'll have a few options and they'll choose Tokyo or they'll choose Japan.
Definitely. I have a bonus one, which is you get to eat the best ramens even in the middle of the night after work. So that's a great bonus for founders. Very founder-friendly city. But I do agree with the corporate density, and in certain areas like physical AI, healthcare, hospitality. There are many sectors that global founder would choose to work with Japanese corporates or address the problems in Japan. So let's go to the second section. Scaling startups through AI and open innovation. When I talk about open innovation, I always want to start with some examples. So I would like to ask Tatsu and Masa, especially if you could share some examples of open innovation, corporate, startup, collaborations, and then feel free to jump in, Christine. Anyone wants to start?
Yeah, from my side, we are also leveraging the power of startup companies. So since 2 years ago, we have started to co-work with AI startup companies, several AI startup companies. We're requesting them to introduce the latest technology and the latest knowledge, and we want them to educate our members as well, so that the whole level will be becoming much higher, and we can do more, and we can do another sophisticated projects, right? So we haven't made these type of activities public yet.
Yep.
But we are doing a lot of projects with the startup companies.
That's great.
So from Sompo, we launched the Silicon Valley Lab in 2016 and collaborated with so many startups. And the most successful case is collaboration with Palantir. Palantir is a global top 20 or 30 company at this moment. We utilize their data analytics and their data augmentation technology and extract data from internal or external fragmented system and create a decision-making platform. And with AI, we utilize a platform and we realize the $100 million scale operation efficiency product improvement. That's our most successful case.
That's a very inspiring one. I'm really curious, how did you find out about this solution? Did Palantir reach out to you, or you have a team who's like actively exploring solutions, or how did this happen?
In Palantir case, we were introduced to Palantir by the ecosystem stakeholder venture capital. Japanese venture capital introduced us to the Palantir. That's our first contact point.
Got it. That's encouraging to hear that there's a collaboration between corporates and startup and also venture capital. It's like a whole ecosystem. This is another question that's kind of related to this case, but I think when you evaluate Palantir, I'm sure there was a discussion around whether you want to build this yourself or buy this vendor's solution. So I'm just curious about your general take on how do you decide on build versus buy? Anyone can answer your perspectives.
Okay. So my first take, so always trying to evaluate the solution from the external entities. So because if we build a solution, it's not just building a solution. We need to maintain the code, and also we need to rectify for the version ups or such as LLM. So by the way, the frontier models from the hyperscalers has a very short-term service term, right? So just only 1.5 years or 2 years. So after that, after they terminated the certain model, we need to recompile or rebuild the application every time. So building application is still one of our major selection and method to proceed our project. But we also consider buying the solution from the market when it has a good ROI or if the solution is already in the commodity. So the bar is always changing, right? So 2 years ago we had a very small number of AI-armed solutions in the market, but this year, for instance, for the like call center solution, we have a bunch of numbers of solutions is out there. So we can buy those commoditized solutions from the partner or from the SIs. I think it's the first choice for you. But if we try to do a proof of concept which is deeply buried into our original business processes based on our culture or our original processes or our guardrails, we may need to build our own solution. So building an AI solution is becoming easier because AI coding such as Claude Code or Codex or Debian that we are using is much popular. And in a day, you can build a proof of a POC application in a day, or maybe it takes just only a few hours. So building is becoming the first choice for our team. But buying a solution for the commoditized solution is another option to that.
I really like that framing. So first is ROI, and then the level of commoditization, and the second is customization. But the first choice is to build. But if it doesn't make sense, and then go look for the solutions. Anyone wants to add on or?
Yes. So we prefer buy rather than develop because our nature is a business company and not a technology company. In general, we prefer buy. And as Tatsuto mentioned, the maturity of the startups and the technologies are really important. So we evaluate the startup and the external technology carefully, and then if the technology is good and reasonable from the perspective of ROI, we will adapt it.
Got it.
But this is a good. It's really interesting to hear from two different, larger companies. One is more you're leaning more towards building, maybe in some cases buying, and then you would prefer to buy, because I think for any early stage founders, that is something they actually both early stage founders and maybe pre-AI companies that are trying to continue to get business from enterprise. That most likely you would think that you're losing your deal or losing your business to another, like a competitor, but actually could just be you're losing your business to a change in behavior from the corporate, that they would rather build these solutions internally, and they can do that much faster than they ever did before. I don't think it's been a very big discussion, certainly in the Bay Area and Silicon Valley around this dynamic. I don't think it's going to be quite as extreme as every enterprise, every business is now going to build their own software, because as obviously, as Mas-san mentioned, they prefer not to do that.
Right.
So it will vary, but I think for founders, they just need to be highly aware that this is happening real time.
Right.
And that it's something that I don't think we would have seen 5 years ago. So
That's
it's
a
very
really
real.
good point. When it comes to buying, okay, let's decide that we're not going to build this, we're going to buy this. There's another conversations around whether you should go for kind of legacy SaaS player who really understand the corporate workflow and already built trust within the corporate system, versus AI native companies that can move really quickly but still kind of new and not tested in the market. How would you pick?
It's not a direct answer to your question, but the point is how to adapt startup external technology. I mean, we prefer buy rather than develop, but we have over 250 members who are how to say who are dedicated to the digital adoption. What they are doing is first they identify the issue of a business unit, and then picked up the technology from the startup ecosystem and evaluate it. And after that, they try to not customize but adjust startup solution a little bit in order to adapt their solution to our workflow.
Right.
Yeah. That's what we are doing.
Got it. That makes lots of sense. And do you want to jump in,
Yeah.
Tatsu?
So because I'm a futurist, I really prefer to work with AI native companies. Besides that, over the last 2 years, we have been also established a new internal AI architecture called Mizuho AI-oriented architecture, which aims to transform our internal system and the process into AI native type process. So that so the affinity to our brand new architecture is clearly fits with AI native type company. And also, I personally believe that AI native type of approach will dramatically improve our productivity or efficiency or customer satisfaction. So we don't deny. We still, for instance, we still use a CLM SaaS, and they are trying to set a agent layer for the next major step. And we also are evaluating how we can use that kind of the agent layer. But besides that, I think there must be a two-speed architecture, right? So using the legacy SaaS system and improving that is also required for the short-term vision. But for the long-term vision, I really prefer to introduce the AI native type of solutions. And also the industry vertical is another crucial topic for that. Yeah.
That's fantastic. But do you get pushback from some internal team members about this drastical change, adopting very new solutions? That's what I would assume.
Yeah,
in large corporates,
yes. Sometimes it depends on what we want to do. So, for instance, when we try to introduce or build the AI native type of solutions, for instance, we're trying to use the cloud cowork or open cloud inside our banking environment. It's really difficult to introduce it as a whole. And also, when we try to connect our legacy system to AI native processes, it also produces some kinds of hallucinations.
Right.
Because nobody has the experience in the past
completely
to
new.
do that, right? So nobody can expect what type of risk will be there and what kind of new security architecture is required for that. So traditionally, the banking, traditionally IT department, like in our large enterprises, has a more conservative way of thinking around the architecture. So there's a lot of variations and pushbacks out there, but we have to move forward.
Got it. Thanks for sharing that.
There's also so I know the question was around legacy SaaS.
Right.
You could go as legacy as far back as like Salesforce, very much older.
Yep.
But just maybe SaaS companies that were built in the last 10, 15 years. AI native companies that are maybe barely 2 years old.
Right.
And then there's a third that I think we didn't touch on, but I'm curious your take, because when we were talking offline, there is also the notion of it really depends on the leadership of that company and if they themselves are adopting AI very quickly, if they've made that investment. So I think about companies that were built pre-AI, but they themselves have really done a phenomenal job investing and reinventing the company. So, two in our portfolio I think of is Canva, which really is, they've done just a very phenomenal job, because I think their existing kind of core product could have been, there's a lot of competitors trying to build what they build, but they have really invested into AI since 10 years ago. They have now developed their own models, and they're really actually kind of going after the whole productivity suite. And they're the third most used AI product after OpenAI or after ChatGPT and Claude. So that's maybe one example where if the company has done a good job investing, you might potentially feel better about. Ultimately, it comes down to, does the product work for you? Intercom's probably another one. They've been very public about really reinventing the company and making a lot of hard decisions. And now their AI product is growing much faster. Finn, their agent, and so I think it's good to keep in mind. Actually, I think about it more from the investor perspective. And our more mature portfolio and how they're faring, but also for founders and for corporates, like who do they choose to invest in, who they choose to partner with. And I think we don't know we'll see what happens. I think even in the next 5 months, let alone next 5 years, it just things move at such the velocity
really
is
fast.
incredible. So
that really adds to depth to this conversations. We can move on to the next questions. What will be the tips you want to give to founders who are trying to work with Japanese corporations?
Okay, so I think that, as I mentioned, for large corporation, most tough part is adoption.
Yep.
How to adopt a startup technology. So if startups can provide their value without changing corporation's current operation, that would be really attractive for large corporations. Let's move on. Move back to the Palantir case. Their technology, they can put the connector to the current system and pull the data from the current system automatically.
Do they do the integration
Yes.
themselves? Okay.
Yeah. Integrate the data platform. That means we need not change current operation.
Got
Yeah.
it.
So one more thing is the culture of Japan. Japan is really detail-oriented, and we prefer customization.
Right.
So, on the other hand, without a customization, and if we can adapt a startup technology without a customization and changing current operation, that would be really attractive. So.
Got it. Do you want to add to?
So for me, it's so from my perspective, when I first talk with the startup companies, I really want to hear the future vision of their company, right? So I personally don't want to talk about the current business processes or current type of business processes or business models. So I'm always seeking the opportunity to have a talk around the future possibility, right? And another aspect is that so some AI companies, startup companies, are starting to demonstrate how the technology knowledge is excess and great compared to the competitors, or how their CTOs or engineers are really good about doing something, building an application or solutions or like that. So, but behind the scene, we also have a strong partnership with tech companies like AWS, OpenAI, or Anthropic, and then some others. So our engineer team already have a great path to ask technological things or trend to those tech companies. So what I want to also hear from those startup companies is not technology trends or technically what they can do, but we also want to know how they can contribute to transform ourselves into the AI native using technology. So that means that they also need to know more about our industries, or our business processes, or even the financial services industry. So in Japan we have 3 large mega banks, right? But so those 3 large banks has a different type of culture or different type of processes, even in the same business model. So learning more about the industry and propose how to transform our company is more required for my
That's
side.
very interesting. So focus more about the potential future this technology can build. Speaking of future, let's move on to the future of Tokyo. So building Tokyo as a global launchpad. So the question is, if Tokyo were to double globally successful startups, what must improve? This is a tough question, but anyone wants to start?
I will take that one. So that, as mentioned earlier, the strength of Tokyo ecosystem is the density of our cooperation.
Right.
If cooperation can support startups, including the global startups, I mean there are large corporation can buy startup solution more and more. That will be the we will have a better future.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. That's a really fair
Simple.
point.
It's there's many. I think we can all pick like many
Yep.
many things that are required.
Right.
But I actually think one thing that if you think about, there's this concept in with many startups on the one metric that matters. So we call it the OMTM, right? But if I think about one thing that would have a good trickle effect is the number of very massive outcomes that come out of Japan.
Mm-hmm.
And that can be going IPO, going public, but and I know that it can be a very overused term these days. But when you think about unicorn companies coming out of Japan, you know it's increasing, but it's still you know when founders think about can I really grow a big company, you know a lot of them, you know, a lot of companies do go public when they're still kind of not quite at that stage, right? So I think if there are more companies that do set that example, and you have, you know, like we invested in Payday a long time ago. That was a pretty big outcome, I guess, but it wasn't, you know, didn't go public here. But just more, if founders see, wow, there's like all these billion-dollar companies, you know, they become global and they come from Japan, and they may still be based in Japan, but that they really are seen as they can grow to that level here. Then I think that potentially actually inspires a lot of founders. You know, the other thing I had in mind was that there needs to be a much more robust private market funding landscape that's not necessarily all corporate driven, but it's, you know, like the institutional Series A investor, Series B, later stage. There's a lot of early stage investors. There could always be more. Silicon Valley has a lot. So I think that funding landscape that can really fund a company from the earliest investors all the way to Series A, Series B, so that it actually can enable that, get to that big outcome. That I think would have hopefully very positive impact on getting more companies to start.
Right, that's a really good point. Especially the first point I wanted to add on, because I was just speaking with this Japanese founder last week, and he was talking about this new idea, and I love the founder because he has great background. He's such a hustler, and he's building something that has great founder market fit at the right moment with regulatory tailwind. So it's like everything you want to see. The only thing I didn't like about his pitch is this page about market sizing. So the vision he was pitching me, I could see 100 more potentials than he was talking to me. Like, if you can build this entry product, you can build on top of that so many things because you have this great customer base. So we had a great brainstorm sessions, and then we ended up concluding that he can become next this public company that is $90 billion company. And that's something that wasn't in his first pitch. So I think the ambition is something that we need to keep saying that Japanese founders should have. And then I don't know, you want to add something?
Yeah, my question is why their market is so small?
That's a really good point, because I could resonate with him, because we are taught to be responsible. So we should say something that we can actually achieve. So there was a debate between me and the founder, because the founder is used to talking to Japanese investors or stakeholders who want him to be down to earth. So he had some visions in his mind, but he didn't want to pitch it because he didn't want to look irresponsible.
Oversell.
Right, right. And I really respect that culture. It's something admirable in Japan. But if you want to build something global, I would say you have to be ambitious and dream big from day one. But yeah. Okay, we can move on to the last section. We have 20 seconds. So I would like to get one sentence advice from each of you. We can start from Christine. What would be your advice to founders who are trying to raise from global investors?
Just going off of our last discussion, I think to really paint a very big vision for your company and convince them to have conviction that you are the team to build it. But you have to really think big.
That's a really good point. And then I want to ask about advice for founders who want to scale globally. Masa and Tatsu, if you have any advice to these founders.
I can't say it in just 20 seconds, but anyway, so one thing is a founding team with global members. That's really effective. And I launched the startup with co-founders, including a German guy and a Chinese guy, and who lives in the Silicon Valley. And our 80% of our sales is global related, international related. So the founding team with the global members is a really effective way.
Got it.
Yeah,
And the last sentence.
yeah, one other easy way to do that is publish English contents is another requirement for the startups. Not just a text, but maybe posting English contents on the YouTube or something like that. Maybe it works.
Got it. That's a really good advice. So to summarize is to be ambitious and then build global team and then tell your story to the world. Thank you so much for joining, everyone.
Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you. Thank you very much. So we hope you enjoyed.